now.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, so basically, touching on the last few weeks now of the prep, right, and to give people an insight to how difficult it is, I mean, why don't you talk us through those, especially like the last couple of weeks? Those were brutal because you changed jobs, didn't you?
Yeah, so I think it was 4 or 5 weeks out. I had to change my job because I was really not happy in work.
Yeah.
So I got offered a new job, and it was days because I was working shifts before.
Yeah.
So this was straight days. So I was like, right, this will be better on prep. But what I didn't take into account is the job was a little bit more physical.
Yeah, very.
So how bad was I the first week? It was just like my walls had just been turned upside down. I was just like, where's my energy gone? It was completely just.
I remember that. I remember that, and
So
I got so panicked. I got panicked because in the whole prep had gone smooth with you, right?
Yeah.
Then we hit like this storm where every day you were in shock because you're literally like, this is not exaggeration, like literally your fucking body was failing on you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Energy level was just so low, and
I
it's hard
remember.
to navigate it.
I remember people in the gym the week before saying, "Oh, how's prep?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's going really well. My cardio's going well. My training's going well." And then like the week after, they see me and they were just like, "You look a complete different person. Like you just look absolutely shattered." So it's crazy how something so small can change your prep so much. So.
It's not really small though, because that's 9 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah. The only problem is because we were only 4 weeks out, you can't like adjust your diet massively. You couldn't have just given me loads of carbs and loads of cheat meals or whatever, because it would have messed me up then. Because we were only 4 weeks out, so we were very lean then. So it was a hard situation, really, wasn't it? But I went from the prep went from going. It was going smoothly. It was still smooth anyway, but it went from like when I started my new job, it was like day to day. Then I was getting through the days. It wasn't getting through the weeks. I was getting through the days. Like I was like, right, Monday's done, Tuesday's done, Wednesday's done. And I know it sounds really bad, but you are just wishing your days away.
No, you really are. No, it does get like that. I remember being on the receiving end of that, and you would tell me like, you know, like the days that you're working, and I'd be like, oh man, once we get to Thursday, we're out of the danger zone.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that zone, like you said, it's difficult because we're in a volatile position. We're 4 weeks out. I can't just start amending the diet and start, you know, putting in tons of food or giving you cheat meals, even though the body's basically begging you. Like, the body is doing what it's doing. The reason you're feeling the way you are is because the body's saying, Matt, please, mate, give me some food. Do you know what I mean? I need something here. And the thing about it is that you got through that, and that's what people don't realize. It's more than physical; it's mental toughness, because you know, right, that you're on a diet. You know you're low energy, and every hour, like you say, you're clock watching. Do you know what I mean? Just trying to, like you said. The goal then doesn't become like, oh yeah, I'm going to smash this week. The goal comes, let me just get past today. And that's how you know that you're getting into good condition. People can dress up whatever way they want, right? I'm really proud because I know that I can diet a person into great shape. What I would say is, which is without too much of being an arduous process. Like you said, both said at the beginning, are you thinking, oh, prep is great. You know what I mean? This is going so good. Yeah. When you get down to that low body fat stage, doesn't matter what diet you're on, right? So whether you're on Cerys' diet or you're on Matt's diet, the pain is there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that energy is low. And let's move on now onto like coming up to that first contest, Cerys. How was that for you? I mean, how did you feel looking at yourself at that stage, you know, realizing to yourself that literally what began as a, hey, let me get into shape journey, now we're standing here and you're about to go on to stage in a week's time?
Wow, I still look back and just think, oh my God, that's me. Because I have never, ever, you know, I've been going to the gym since I was, like 17, 18. You know, I've always been, I've always been structured in terms of my diet. But obviously back then I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was one of those girls who would never eat carbs and stuff like that. So yeah, I remember I felt so confident just because I have never been in that shape in my life. But yeah, I think it was about 3 weeks out. I think that was when I was at my energy levels were at its lowest.
Yeah.
And I struggled then. But I think once we got to around 2 weeks out, the excitement kicked in, the adrenaline kicked in, because it was just so close. But yeah, I think the excitement kind of takes over then. And then peak week, well, I absolutely loved all my peak weeks. They were just so nice, just to dial things down a little bit. And it was, obviously I didn't know what to expect either. So, there's so many different ways you can do a peak week, because I think every one of ours was different, wasn't it? Every 3 peak weeks were different. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect. And you can listen to people on Instagram and how their peak weeks go and things like that, but that might not be the case for you. So yeah, it was exciting. And I remember telling you that I really enjoyed my peak week because it was just so stress-free.
Yeah.
And then obviously the excitement's kicking in, and yeah, I think that was I don't know. Yeah, it was obviously like one of my favorite shows, because obviously it was the first one.
And you smashed it.
Absolutely smashed it.
Yeah. I remember I was nervous. I was because I remember being on, like, the first time I walked on stage, my leg was shaking. And then when I was smiling, like I could feel my lip moving, like my top lip moving, because I was just trying not to show that I was a bit nervous. So everything was like shaking a little bit, but you just like stood there holding that position because the first time I went on, they held us, like they made us do the comparison so many times, and I had to hold it for so long. So like my one leg was shaking, my lip was shaking, but I was trying to just keep smiling and looking at the judges. But yeah, it was such a good experience. It was just, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it to people, because that feeling of just being on stage and, after weeks and weeks and weeks of, all the cardio, all the dieting, it was all just worth it then as soon as you stepped on stage.
When you walk out into those lights, all that work, all that cardio, those low carb days, all those doubts, they just kind of evaporate.
We didn't think about it then. And then it felt like, actually prep went really quickly. Whereas if you asked me that 6 weeks prior to the show, I would have felt like it was dragging, but no, you kind of just forget about all of those days with your low energy and your low mood and things like that, because it was all just worth it then when you stepped on stage. It was so good.
It's just absolutely incredible. I mean, touching on your peak week there, and this is the thing, like with peak weeks, the way my approach is to peak week, and this is just my approach, there's so many ways to do it. A lot of people pre-plan a peak week. I don't. I'm a reactive coach, so I look at how the body's responding, and my whole thing is to keep the client stress-free, because people don't realize stress plays into it massively. You can have a great diet strategy if the person's stressed, to guess what, they're holding water, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is that understanding your body. I looked at you and I thought, what, you just need to get a bit harder. That's about it. Stay nicely full, bring you in like that, and it works an absolute treat, and that's what you want. Peak weeks, I've never understood how you can, like you can give someone a peak week 7 days out, and I've never understood that. Like, for me, it has to be day by day, right? Reactive, right?
Things changed because we were on daily check-ins for about 6 weeks, weren't we?
Yeah.
Things change so quickly in such a short space of time.
This is the thing, and like I said, and like I say, this is just my method of coaching. Certainly is that when I get on these journeys with people and they're invested as you guys are, I get invested as if it's my own journey, as if I'm getting on stage, and I know, that for me personally, I just don't want to leave a stone unturned. So that's why I just go straight to daily check-ins. Do you know what I mean? Because that way, there's no ambiguity, is there? You guys are not lost. I'm not lost. I don't have any worries, because every morning I get to see you. And that's what people don't realize. Every morning you're checking in, you're getting up, weary-eyed, sending me those check-in pictures. You are like literally doing your walk, right, every morning, and then I'm giving you a diet and the cardio for the day, and you both go and literally execute it. You don't know what the next day is going to bring. You don't know how many low carb days you're going to have. You don't know when a cheat is going to come along. I'm literally deciding that. And, we got through to it. We get onto the stage, and I tell you something now, that when Matt messaged me, man, my heart just, I was so happy, because
Yeah.
You didn't just go and do well. You actually, it's like a fairy tale, Cerys. It's like an absolute fairy tale. You went and then you got.
Well, I've got my little tiara like a princess.
I mean, talk me. I want to really know, because I never really got an opportunity to sit down and actually talk to you about it. Is that when you nailed like all 3 of those, how did you feel that day? I mean, at the end of the day, how did you feel after all that? Could you even believe what the hell just happened over the last couple of months?
No, I don't think it sank in until I think we were sat at breakfast the next morning.
Yeah.
Just having breakfast together. I think that's when it kind of started to sink in, because I think I was just on such a high from the day, and then obviously we went straight for food afterwards, and I was on a high for having a burger and some treats.
First burger in months.
And then I was just absolutely shattered. I was so tired then. It was literally had food, we got home, and then I think we went to bed. Well, I went to bed really, really early anyway, because I was just so tired, because obviously didn't really sleep much the night before. Then, I was up ridiculously early, checking in, then going to get hair and makeup and everything done, and then get to the venue I think we got down there for about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it all just hit me then, and I was just absolutely shattered. So,
you done 3 classes as well?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was when we were having breakfast the next day, and because Matt had laid out all the trophies on the table, and I was just like, oh, my God, I couldn't believe it. I think it took a couple of days for it to actually sink in. But yeah, it just makes it all worthwhile. And I think, even if I didn't win, I still would have been buzzing, because I managed to go through the prep and get on stage, because it is really difficult, and a lot of people don't even get to that stage. And I think, some people can be disappointed if they don't place. I just went in with the mentality that I've made it through a prep, and I'm getting on stage. I'm happy with the physique that I'm getting on stage with. It was my first time, so to take home some trophies as well. Yeah, I was just absolutely buzzing about that.
Couldn't agree more. It's what people miss out on. People will always look at, success in life in any path, right? Like today we're talking about in a competitive path, right? Like what you've done here. People look at that and they focus so much on that, they don't realize it's the actual journey and the experience itself which actually really builds you as a human being. It really adds to you.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything in life that if you don't, anything in life that you do, where you've given your all, where you haven't grown as a person, right?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, because when we were going along this, one thing that I never done was to try and hype you both up, or to try and predict placings or that. It was all that. I always have the same attitude. Everyone I work with, just focus on doing the work, keep humble.
Yeah.
Don't let those mind games sink in. Don't start doing comparing, and just know that, hey, and you both can say this. You both can 1,000,000% say this, that you both stepped onto stage without missing a single beat. And we're not just talking on the prep. If we're real here, since you've begun working with me, what have you missed out on? Really, what have you actually you really haven't veered off plan at all?
No.
I had that tiny little bit on prep when I had an extra Rice Krispie square bag. I told you about that straight away.
Very naughty, that was. And it's like, for me as a coach sitting here and seeing this story, it's a real life story unfold. It's such a surreal experience for me, because I look in through a window, right? And I just can't even imagine, because again, like I say, I'm not coaching here through me reading a book. It's me a real life experience. I know how it is to go to the first show, how to have your family all there nervous, right? They don't really know what the frick you're doing. What are you doing getting all painted up and walking around like this, man? What's going on? Right? It's a whole new environment. And you go out there and you go on stage, and I mean this when I say it, but I don't know what it is to have a first place, but you do. And it's just incredible. I'm just so happy to have seen you actualize a dream. And it's like a plan that's become to real life in front of us. Do you know what I mean? So that's your show, Chris, the first one. We pumped Matt up big time to go into his show.
He was gutted then, though, that he didn't compete on that same day, because he was just like, I wish I was competing today as well.
Yeah,
I know.
But then it was only 2 weeks afterwards, wasn't it?
And the thing is that's the thing. That was the first. You had this massive high, and half the reason you were shattered. Do you want to know why you had this massive adrenaline rush? and then you got to come down. Like, do you know what I mean? You have the massive, like, you walk in, and like you say, your legs shaking, your lips shaking. You don't really know what you're going to do. You're going to come. You come out absolutely blown away because you didn't go in there. Like you say, you genuinely, not once did you talk about placings with me. You genuinely went in there like, I've done my best, and you really gave it like aspects that we haven't even covered, like your posing. How much time did you put into that? Do you know what I mean?
Well, every day for a good. Well, I started practicing in, I would say, February, but then from about, I don't know, I would be practicing a couple of times a week, but then from about, I'd say about eight weeks out, it was every day, sometimes twice a day as well.
And self-taught she was as well. So,
well, no, I
unbelievable.
some tutorials online, and then I just kind of used them and did it myself. But mainly that was just because of cost, though.
And this is the thing, well, this is the thing. People don't look at these things that make all the difference. Like, it blows my mind how people will put the effort into cardio, they'll put the effort into training, they'll put the effort into diet, they will get into good condition, and then they will literally go and do themselves a disservice by getting on stage and posing to make themselves look worse.
Yeah.
You always told us from the start, though, to make sure we didn't have to put those in, and we did. And it works. Like you just said, if you do it like a week out and you just start, you look so out of place on stage.
Yeah. Well, I think so many judges, so many people that bikini athletes that I've followed, and other athletes, because it's the same in any class. You know, you could have the best physique, but if your posing is not spot on, then you're not showcasing your physique in the best possible light, and then that could be the difference between a placing or not placing.
Absolutely. And it's little things as well that people don't realize. If you don't practice posing and you go out there under them bloody hot lights, right, and you're shaking and you can't contract and you start sweating, all of a sudden your condition's looking a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? People don't realize that putting that time in where you're polished, everything is, like almost like machine-like, where you can move out of a pose fluidly, you can hold it and you're not tired, you're not sweating, because you've got to understand that. Think of the posing that you've done and how much that did actually help you when they're comparing you the way they did.
Well, I remember for a good couple of weeks beforehand, I was practicing and just holding it for a good 30 seconds to a minute. And I'm glad I did that, because the first time I went on, they had us doing the comparisons. We must have done about 5 rounds of comparisons.
It was your front pose at the start.
It was
when
probably
I first about got on 5
stage,
minutes.
I just stood there for a good 5 minutes and just trying to hold that front pose.
You can't just follow pose. You can't just stand there like relax. You've got to be showing your physique off. So
that's it.
I remember just stood there thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is it felt like forever." But it's hard. Posing is hard. I remember when we first started, it was a workout in itself, wasn't it?
Oh,
well,
I'd have DOMs the next day.
Yeah. And I remember looking at pictures. There is a transformation picture on my Instagram of when I first started posing properly and sending new pictures, and then like a couple of weeks before the show, it just looked completely different. Where you're learning every day better angles, where to put your hands, it's crazy. Your feet placement, your foot placement is massive as well. So if anyone's learning the pose, it's all about your feet. Like that's the main thing. I wouldn't even bother with your arms to start off with. Just use your feet. Otherwise, you just end up tripping over yourself.
Absolutely, could not agree more. And that's what it is that people don't realize. Like when you might look in a mirror, right, and think, "Fucking hell, I look good," and do a few flexes or poses that you look good. Now take that away and stand in front of hundreds of people, right?
Yeah.
You don't know where you are. Like you're hitting the most muscular, or you're hitting a side pose, or you're hitting a thing you don't. But when you've ingrained it into you through practice, it's almost like I could blindfold you, and through feeling alone, you're going to know where your body is, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, like it is a workout in itself. People don't realize that contracting the muscles the way like you do in posing, and when you're doing it religiously, you will actually have a harder appearance. I just see it every time.
My back, after every show, my back was in bits. Bloody kills.
Yeah, it was good.
When you were up there, Chris, doing all the posing and everything, and they were taking you different rounds and all that. Did you have a bearing of where you might place at that point, or still not an idea?
I did.
You did, yeah.
I did from the audience.
I didn't. It was all such a bit, it was a bit of a blur because, in the morning I met quite a few of the girls that I was competing with, but it was weird because I didn't look at them and think, oh, I didn't look at them and then compare myself to them.
Yeah.
And then, to be fair, the first show, it was really quick. So from the athletes meeting in the morning, within an hour or so, I was on stage.
Yeah.
And then even when I was on stage, I wasn't looking at the other athletes. I was looking at the judges. So I made sure I was still connecting with the judges and, I was staying in my pose and smiling and, because it's all about your stage presence as well.
Oh, hugely.
So I didn't really look at anyone else.
That's the thing with you honestly looked like your whole stage presence, everything was very professional. This is the thing. People don't realize if you're going to go out there and you're going to make the effort, right, to go through a prep, to do that, then you must go out there with confidence. You must go out. You must go out there with confidence.
You got to fake it.
This is it. You got to go out there with self-belief.
Yeah.
So, Matt, your first show, talk through that. How did you feel with all that?
Well, we had a bit of a nightmare the night before the show, didn't we? Remember, I was just proper stressed. Basically, we booked a bad hotel.
Yeah,
so that was quite stressful.
That was my fault.
And then obviously we had the tan took forever, and we didn't end up eating, did we? Can you remember? We didn't end up eating until about 10 o'clock at night.
Of course, I remember all that. Everything got delayed, and I remember being thinking to myself, like, more than anything was your stress level, because I know how it is. I know how it is, because people don't realize that final night is kind of like our last touch point. Even though I'm navigating you through the day, all the work for that last touch up is done overnight. And your night got royally effed up because basically everything that you didn't want to happen happened. And you're in a place where you're in a place where you're sending me pictures and I can't even judge the physique properly because the lighting was awful. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, the lighting was very, very bad.
We couldn't see anything. So that night there, I mean, like, honestly, how were you feeling inside? I know you were peed off, you were frustrated. At that point, where was the focus level?
Well, but when we finished eating, I was stressed because I was driving around Bournemouth and I was just like, this is just doing my head in. But then by the time I ate, we sat down, took some more pictures. I had a glass of wine, I remember. And I remember I had Robin Hood on the TV. Yeah. I was watching Robin Hood. And I did just relax then. So before I went to sleep, I did relax. But then when we woke up in the morning, my body just came alive, didn't it? It looked, we took some outside pictures, and so yeah, it was good. And I was obviously really, really nervous. Obviously, Cerys is used to do theatre, so for her getting on stage, I knew she would smash it because that's the type of person she is.
I was very young,
and I'm not that type of person at all. So I was a bit nervous to what I would be like on stage. But when I got on there, you just do your thing. Like, it is weird. Like, I'm not a natural performer, but I got on there and I just really enjoyed it.
I think just going back, it helped because we had a really chilled out morning.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, I forgot.
So we went for a nice walk along the beach before we had to go and grab him some food.
Yeah.
After your check-in and everything, and it was just nice and chilled out. So I think that kind of set you up good for the day.
Good,
and then obviously with your physique, because you looked really good, and then you were feeling a bit more confident.
Yeah.
And the stress had gone, thank God.
So we had quite a stacked lineup on that day as well.
Really stacked lineup.
So it was a lineup, definitely.
Yeah. So the boys who come first and second, and that show, because I came third, obviously. One of them went on to the Arnolds and come third, and then the other one won the FedEx finals. And then
and the
UK all natural one or something. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was a massive show. So I was just absolutely buzzing just to even come third. Again, I had no expectations. So
I was so happy with the result because it's one thing, you had a big class. This is the thing, you had a big class, number one, right? Secondly, the guys that beat you, like you said, it's an honor, right? Being beaten by guys that have put longer time in than you, where they've had more off seasons, more time to build that muscle, right? More experience, and you got on there and your first time ever. Like you said, you'd never ever gone on stage and posed ever before, right? Never done anything like this. You didn't have the greatest night before, because the reality is that that's how life is. As much as we like it, we can't live life on our terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Life throws a spanner in the works, but we peaked you still fantastic peak, right?
Yeah.
You go on there and you do that, and it just really, that ignited you, didn't it? That whole experience, really.
Yeah. That was, I just loved it. To be fair, everything about that show, the venue, everything was absolutely
really
beautiful.
good.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And like we found our own little space. So I don't really like pumping up with everyone else. I just want to find my own little area. So Cerys obviously was with me, and I was just pumping up in the corner on my own, and like it was just perfect. Everything ran so smoothly that day.
And I remember being really nervous for you because I didn't know how nervous you were going to be on stage, because obviously you've never done anything like that before. And you came across really confident, really confident. I don't think so. When was that show? What date was that? Like the beginning of September. So my voice hasn't really come back properly since that show, because obviously I was shouting and screaming at you on stage, and my voice has still not come back properly.
I love that.
Yeah.
How did it feel, Cerys, being in the opposite side? So now you're watching him on stage.
I was just so proud because, it was, I've seen him day in, day out for the 5 weeks or so prior, just being so depleted, so low energy. And obviously it affected his mood. So then to see him come alive and on stage, I was just so happy. I was just like, couldn't stop shouting and screaming, and I was shaking because I was nervous as well. But it also then kind of like, I was just like, oh, I can't wait for me to get back on stage now.
Oh, it's just brilliant. I know. And then it spurred on the second show, right? So,
yeah.
Oh, that was class.
Let's go on to that.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing because it was home for us. Like,
it was literally on our doorstep.
So like we had a couple of friends. We had quite a few friends and a couple of family members come as well. And for that, honestly, that made it the best show for me because, well, we had a bit of a nightmare that show as well. So let's go to that first. So the night before the show, I overate, and I know I overate. I went a bit stupid, and it completely bloated me to the point where I wasn't going to compete.
Yeah, that's
my stomach was so bad that morning. It was just I couldn't contract my abs at all. I know, you could see my abs, but they were just like solid, like a round, not like. I did not look good.
I was so nervous for you as well because obviously, like, we've done a cheat meal with you the night before because the reality is that with Matt's body, Matt many times during the whole prep, right, has had situations where he's had the cheat meal and the next day he's looked absolutely 100% really improved, drier, harder, fuller. Yeah. There's only very rare body types that can benefit like that sort of way, and Matt's one of them. The problem is that, when you woke up that morning and you gave me that message, I myself was then, my nerves were going because I'm having to think, okay, how do we go around this? Because it wasn't necessarily your condition, it's the stomach. You see, and people don't realize that you set all your poses up from the stomach, especially in physique. And if you feel like you can't pull that stomach in, man, it affects your whole mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what
it really did because your stress levels again, they just went through the roof, and then you weren't happy with how you were looking. Yeah. And I think then that doesn't help either when you're so stressed.
No. Yeah, so go on, sorry.
I always want to frame this, right, so that people really know how this happens. So this is a show, right, that's on your doorstep, yeah? Mm-hmm. This is where your biggest turnout is. Friends, family, right, all here, right? And you've woken up and you're actually in the mental position, and we'll be honest here, where you were like, almost at the point of like, screw this, because this has started off catastrophically bad, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you explain the day for me how it went on? So
we started off. I was because I'm not going to get on stage if I'm not I'm not expecting to win, but I want to win. That's my competitive side. I'm not going on stage just to take part. I want to try and win. So when my abs were just like, I just lost it a little bit, but thanks to you controlled the situation a little bit, calmed me down, and we went on a nice little walk. Actually, we went on a few walks just to try and calm my stomach down. I think we just had a little breakfast, and then we were just sipping on water, basically, weren't we? And my belly got better and better and better. But the morning show, it still wasn't amazing because I did the first time. The beginner's show in the morning. It still wasn't amazing, was it? Like it came in quite a lot, and then I managed to get second in that, which I was. But the only problem with because I wasn't 100% in myself. I knew my stomach wasn't there. When I was on stage, my stage presence wasn't as good because in my head I'm already thinking I don't look as good as last week, or I've looked better than this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and even Kerry said, and the book, and my friend said, when I came on stage in the afternoon, by the time we got to the afternoon, my body came back alive again. And I was really happy. I was absolutely buzzing. I remember texting you saying, "We're there, like, are we peaked now?" And I remember getting on stage the second time, I was a complete different person. I even what did I do? Because I could hear everyone in the audience. So when I first did my first pose, I could hear them like shouting, Matt. So I got the crowd going a little bit. That's
I love that.
So I was just in my element in the afternoon. Like
you could tell because I was stood on the side of the stage when he was on the first time, and I could just and I was stood on the side in the wings, shouting, spurring him on, trying to lift his spirits a bit. But you could tell by your face that you weren't happy, and you were giving it your best. But I just think your facial expressions, you were just trying to get through it. I think. But you weren't happy and you weren't 100% in yourself. I think
I could feel
you got in your own head.
I could feel I couldn't. You can feel your abs when you're breathing. So you can feel that they weren't contracting. And I'm not allowed to look down, obviously, mid pose. So I was just a bit so it starts messing with your head massively.
Hugely.
And I could tell you got into your own head. But then when you got when they called you out for second place, I think that kind of just boosted your confidence massively. And I think that really helped then. Because although your condition did come in even more for the second one, I think because of your confidence, because that had lifted for the second time you went on stage, that helped massively.
Yeah, the second in the afternoon when I did the open, it was a little battle between me and another guy from Newport, so it was quite good to be on stage with him. But it was amazing that second one because I could just hear everyone as well, and obviously I come second, and then amazingly got awarded the GBO Pro card as well, which I didn't even celebrate. I didn't even celebrate, by the way, because I was just like, he just handed me the card, and I was just in such shock. And I was just like, wow. I was like, I couldn't believe it, man. It was just mental. That.
Again, it's like a fairy tale, mate, because you have that position where I know that this is not an exaggeration. Like you were in a bad place in the morning because you know what it is. You worked so hard, and you didn't want to go out there knowing that you weren't presenting your best, right? And like you said, that when you're on a stage, you want to be focused on, I'm on stage, I'm presenting my package here, and I'm feeling great. You don't want to be on stage thinking, shit, what's my stomach like? Do you know what I mean? Is my stomach protruding? I can feel it. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, the thing is with that day, when we were faced with that, I knew that one thing you wouldn't lack is fullness, right? Because you'd eaten the night before. Second thing I knew, the condition was there, obviously, because we could see that everything's nice, crisp and tight. What we needed to reduce that stomach, the walking, everything like that. It brought it in. When I heard you got the second place, I was absolutely over the moon because I knew what that would do for you, right? But then when I got the pro card news, my God, I was just blown away. And it's just like, again, it kind of goes back into the whole thing we were talking about earlier. And when you take a step back from life, right, and you realize what was a negative time, think about it. Think about it. Your wedding didn't happen, right? Where your friends and family wouldn't have been, right? Where would have been, wouldn't they, right?
Yeah.
Now, but look at the moment you created here, where all your friends and family got to witness you fucking getting a pro card. It's just absolutely amazing. And you must have been in such a weird place because you start the day in a negative way, right? Thinking one thing, we turn it around and you're literally ending the day. It was the result that you couldn't even fathom in the morning.
Well, I didn't even think about a pro card or anything like that. I knew they offered them out to if you win your shows and stuff, but I never mentioned it to you once, did I? Or you never mentioned it to me, or so it was a massive shock. I remember telling Cerys, and she just screamed on the phone. I was like, because you were upstairs getting ready for your show because you were next.
Yeah.
So on that one.
Yeah, that was mental. You had such an emotional roller coaster that day. And I think that day we were probably asleep by about 8:30, weren't we?
Yeah. That was a crazy day,
Yeah.
That was my favourite show though, by miles, because it was great, all the other shows, but it was just me and Cass. So but the only problem is we were men's physique and bikini are always very close to each other.
Yeah.
So either I'm warming up and she's on stage, or I'm on stage and Cerys is warming up, pumping up. So it was like we couldn't really watch each other. So having friends and family there, and you can really hear them in the audience.
Yeah.
They were loud, like, and they made me laugh mid-pose because they were so loud.
Oh man,
I was just like,
awesome moments you created, man.
I know.
Oh, it was good. I'm so glad they came. But then I also think that's why I'm glad the first 2 shows we didn't do together, so that we both had somebody then in the audience and we could properly watch each other, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to just sit there and watch one another.
I know, it was, when I remember watching Cerys in the first show, it was like the proudest thing I've watched. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to watch each other, but then at the same time for the next shows, it was nice that we were both doing it together. You know, the night before, having our glass of wine together, and then the morning getting excited together.
It's just incredible. It really is. It's incredible, because I can tell you from doing it my self, you know, when I competed when I was younger and all that, was that it could be a lonely place, right? But when you've got someone else doing it, I just thinking now when you're telling me that, I just thinking in my head that, like, even when you compete together in the shows, it must have been well nice, man, to just come out and actually, like, you both know what it is. Like, you haven't got someone waiting there who's imagining what it is like. Like, you literally have both just come off stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And and you know how it feels as well, because it's like friends were there, but they obviously can see how hard it's been, but no one knows how hard it was unless you've actually been in that position type thing.
I think it's difficult because, you know, friends and family, they try and understand, and they do to an extent, but I think they don't understand or see everything else that goes on behind your dieting, behind going to the gym, because it literally consumes your life. It's 24/7. It's you know, your sleep, it's getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing your check-in, getting your cardio done, going to work, doing more cardio, going training in the gym in the evening, and it's just, it consumes your life. And I think it's those parts that people don't fully understand. You know, they see you going to the gym a lot, they see you, you know, you're on a strict diet and everything, but it's all of those little things, you know, outside of that people don't fully understand.
No, you're absolutely 100%. And again, like I said, I've lived through it, and it's very very foreign for people, and they don't get it. And what it is, people don't realize that, like, yes, look, to build a body, or to lose fat, whatever, you can have balance. I work with many people who have got plenty of balance, right? And they're getting into great shape. Competition, don't even dare do that, unless you're going to dedicate every day to it, because I promise you, the person who beats you will, right? They won't be taking those days off. They won't be slipping up. And if you're going to go and put yourself in that sort of situation where you're going to get onto stage, you're going to invest the money, you're going to invest the time, you've got to dedicate everything. That's what people don't realize, that step up is a huge task of discipline. And you know, Matt can sit there and he can actually give validation to that, because Matt's been in the hard discipline you can get, which is in the military. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and you said to me many a time that this is a very different test of discipline and focus, because it's 24/7 from what you eat to what you do. It's all dictated by the routine.
Yeah. Like, I've done some hard things in the military, but like, it might have only lasted half a day or a day. You know what I mean? It didn't last for 15 to 20 weeks. Like, you know, it's just it's a lot different, like, and mentally as well. Like, mentally, I didn't realize how hard mentally a prep would be, because obviously I thought I was mentally stronger than I was, and I'll openly admit 2-3 weeks out, I was at breaking point twice or 3 times, to the point when you know this because I was messaging you, like, and Cerys obviously knew, so I was living with her, but I was in a bad place coming home. Like, I was just so tired.
I think.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, like, you said you were at breaking point, and I feel like in your head you were, but I knew you wouldn't.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have, but like, it was, you know what I mean? It was,
it was just that,
really testing it. It really is. Yeah. You go through.
Both of you wouldn't have let me quit anyway.
You go through such an emotional roller coaster every day, don't you? And you got so much different things coming in, like, all the time going in your head is, am I lean enough? Right? How am I going to do? Right? Can I do this? Right? And it just keeps circling around, and you have all the time, because you're so hyper focused on your body, because you know that that's going to go up on stage, right?
Yeah.
It is a testing time, and I felt it as well, mate. I felt those last couple of weeks with you, it was like I could tell that it was really testing. And I'm just so glad that you went through with it, because on the other side, and it's beautiful, because these people don't know that these are private discussions that you and I have had. Do you know what I mean? Like where you've messaged me at the end of a hard day, and you've been like telling me how tough it is, and we've been discussing how to get. Literally, we've been discussing like how we're going to get through from day to day, how we'll get through to the end of this working week, right? And then to see that all happen and unfold the way it has, it's just been incredible. And so much pride from both of our sides here, because looking back on that, can you see how hard times build a person, isn't it? Right? Like when you look back on that, you're probably so proud that you didn't cheat in your diet, didn't quit, didn't give a half-assed attempt. Do you know what I mean? All these things matter.
Yeah.
I think for me, I just kept telling myself, yes, it was hard, but I'm choosing to do it.
Exactly.
You know,
that's the
you know, I chose to do it. So, you know, if you've got to go and do 2 hours of cardio a day, then suck it up. That's what you got to do. You know, if that's what I wanted to, you know, if I wanted to get on stage, then, you know, that's part and parcel of prep. So, yeah, I think that's something that I just kept telling myself.
That's exactly, you have to be realistic with it. And that's why, like, I think I told you guys before that as your competition results came out and everything like that, obviously I had an influx of people wanting to work with me. And I rejected a lot of people, because I said to people that doing a 10, 15 week prep, right, isn't really going to cut it, because it's such a step up and you don't know what to expect. So that's why you've got to build yourself into like you guys have done, and where it does become that lifestyle, right? And where you are pushing yourself. And like you said, where you've chosen to do this, right? You understand what's involved, and you just take that work on. Do you know what I mean? And you get that work done. People underestimate it so much. And the thing about it is, if you're going to do it, don't complain about it, but understand what's involved. You know, understand the deal that you're getting into here.
Yeah.
I mean, even on, we go to your second show now, Cerys, which is a bit of a wake up for you in a way, because you start to realize then actually like how difficult it is to get fit the criteria that they're looking for. Because we brought you this show in which I would say, for me personally, Cerys, your second show where you were the hardest, right? Was for me personally your best look at your whole prep. I thought that was just such an incredible look. I mean, how did that whole day? Because I know that you got moved about class and everything like that. Talk people, people who are watching this who are going to do your sort of route, right? They got to realize that from federation to federation, as you've learned, changes.
It's different, and they're looking. You know, their criteria can sound the same, but actually, what they're looking for could be completely different. You know, and we could, you know, we saw that in placings across the different federations, but. So I was meant to be doing the Bikini Beach beginners and the Bikini Beach Open. So this is NFM UK.
Yeah.
So went on for the beginners class. And then, so it was different for this one compared to the first one, because you go on and do your eye walk first, and then you have the comparisons. Whereas my first show, you had the comparisons and then the eye walk. So went on, did my eye walk. Then they, when all the girls had done theirs, brought, I think there was about 5 of us to the front for comparisons. Did one round, and then the head judge pointed at me and said, "Oh, are you doing bikini athletic?" And I said, "No." And he said, I think he said, "Well, you should, or well, you are now," or something like that. It is a bit of a blur, because it really took me back. Like, I was taken aback.
Yeah.
And then he called out the woman who was helping out on the side of the stage and said, "Oh, you know, can we move her from this class to athletic?" And I don't know, it didn't really process at first, because I was a bit gutted. I was just like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" I was just like, "What?" And I didn't really understand. So and then to be taken off stage, I was just like, "Oh my God," like, you know, it's a bit embarrassing as well. I was just like, "What's going on?" So yes, and then took me off the side of the stage, and then the guy who runs the show, because you were on the side of the show, on the side of the stage as well, waiting, and I didn't really know what was going on, and then he was explaining to me, basically, I was too lean for Bikini Beach, and too much muscle definition for Bikini Beach. They were going for more of a softer look for Bikini Beach. So then that's why they bumped me up to Bikini Athletic. So then I was like, all right, okay then. But then I had quite a while until going on for the Bikini Athletic. But then I started thinking about it and I was like, well, why have they taken, I'm still a beginner. Because afterwards I was just thinking, well, hang on a minute, I'm still a beginner. I should have still been able to compete in the beginners class because it wasn't Bikini Beach beginner. It was just beginners.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of annoyed me a little bit. So I was like, well, I should have still been able to compete in the beginners class because I'd gone in to compete in two classes and only ended up competing in the one. So anyway, got over that, spoke to Matt, went back upstairs. There was a couple of other girls upstairs who were competing in the same class. And I remember just looking around and looking at the girls in that class and I thought, oh my gosh, because they were all like been competing for years, really good muscle development, you know, really lean. And I just thought, oh my God, I've got no chance, you know.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit deflated. But then come the time when we were due to go on stage, I was excited to just get back on stage and do it all again. But literally no expectations because I remember looking down the line again because I was first.
Yeah.
Just looking down the line again and thinking, oh, these are all absolutely incredible.
And
no way.
And because you're only 5'1", in you, like they
and
were
I'm
much
really
bigger.
So I'm 5'1", and I think for the comparisons, they put me next to a girl who was like 5'9".
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize at the time, but looking back at the pictures, I just looked at the photos. I was like, oh my gosh, like I look like so tiny compared to her. But yeah, so I went on and I was first to do my eye walk and everything, and I just no expectations because I just thought these girls are going to absolutely smash it, and they looked incredible. So then when I got third place, I remember looking at a video because I think one of my friends caught a video of it, and the girl next to me went to like congratulate me, but I think I was just such in shock. I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on?
Wow.
So yeah, really shocked that I got third. But now looking back at the pictures, and looking at the Bikini Beach class and looking at the Bikini Athletic class, I can completely see why they moved me because I was an awful lot leaner. You could see every single muscle, and I had like striations in my shoulders, whereas the Bikini Beach girls were a lot softer. So now I can see why they moved me. But on the day, it was just a bit of a blur, and I didn't really know what was going on. Felt a little bit deflated, but then I was, you know, I enjoyed being on stage. I really enjoyed being on stage. I was still quite excited. And then obviously taken third. And then that People's Champion Award, when I come off stage, the guy handed me it. I didn't even know what it was. So, you know, that was a nice surprise as well. But yeah, it was nice. Obviously, like Matt said, we had friends and everyone there. So that just made it even better.
Yeah. And the thing is that I was upset for you, because I could just tell from people's energy, and I knew your energy had been affected by having that whole move, because you go in expecting a certain thing, and the way that the whole thing happened, right, is really like, it's a bit surreal, isn't it? Like you said, you're a bit overwhelmed. Like, what's going on here? I've been moved away from on stage. But the thing about it is that there we go again. You get sort of another like sort of negative experience, but ended up in such a positive way. And weirdly, right, that could have only bolstered your confidence. But then that kind of put us down a different route, because then for the final show, which we're going to go into, I then knew that I had to bring you in softer, right? So we kind of took the pedal off dieting hard and let you fill out a little bit, brought you into that show. With Matt, we still kept the same approach. We want to bring him in hot, because with Matt, we felt that we reached a level now based on the last two peaks, right? How we could bring his ultimate look. And where with you, it was a case of now we've got to reverse engineer the peak and kind of just come in a tad bit softer. So the final peak week, knowing that was it, right? And this was the last show, the last rodeo of the year. How was that for you both? Those last 7 days?
I genuinely, I was tired, man. 3 peak weeks in a row was hard.
Brutal.
And everyone says peak weeks are hard, but like it was tough. Like, but then I knew it was the last week, and it was the final, so I knew it was going to be a massive show, and we were proper excited to. And like it was just, although, well, we'll get onto how well we done, but although like it was just amazing just to being up there with the finals with all the boys competing, because I knew all of them like seasoned athletes as well. So it was a privilege just to be up there with them, to be honest.
We were excited, weren't we? Because it was in Liverpool. It was the British finals. It was, we were going to enjoy like a day out. Well, a day, 2 days out. In Liverpool. And we knew that it would be a good show because it was the finals, and and then seeing people that we've competed with before and then got to know a little bit better from the first couple of shows. So yeah, I think we were excited for those reasons, and it was a good show. It was a good day. It was a really good day.
I liked it a little bit. I like my other shows better. But...
I liked it when we come off stage and ate a cookie.
But it was a good show. It was a good show. But
I know what you mean. The whole energy of that British finals is a big thing. I know exactly what you're saying. I really do. Because when I went for my first British finals years ago, I didn't place, but I was just so happy to be there, because you're right. Because you think that in competition, this is where you want to be. You want to be in them finals, and you want to get a feeling for how it goes and the competitors. And can I ask you, going into that show, I kind of feel like you'd got so much out of the other two shows in terms of you truly went in with no expectations, and here you come out and you've got a cabinet that Matt's built for the trophies, right? So do you feel like the last show you literally were like, I'm not saying that because obviously we took every day serious, but the last show, do you feel that was the least nerves?
Yeah, it was the least nerves. I think I knew I was not expecting anything from this show. So I knew the boys competing. I seen their physiques, and I knew they were a lot more experienced than me. So I still went out and did my thing, tried my hardest. Obviously, I didn't skip a beat or anything, but
I think with the final show, it was just purely just go and enjoy it.
Yeah.
There was, nothing else. It was just go and enjoy it. It's the final one, and then, and then we can relax a little bit. And I think that was kind of in our mind as well. It's the what comes after the show. It is spending time with our family and friends and stuff. So it was purely just let's just go and enjoy the day. We did have a bit of I had a bit of a rocky night because I didn't get to sleep till about 4 o'clock because our hotel was literally above a karaoke bar that didn't close until like 4 o'clock in the morning. Matt somehow got to sleep and managed to sleep through it, but I didn't get to sleep till about 4 o'clock. But yeah, I think it was still, the excitement kicked in, and it was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. And I think it was a nice way to kind of end the season as well.
Do you know also from the final? And because I didn't because of the first two shows I did well in.
Yeah.
And obviously I was in a massive stack. The lineup that was the biggest lineup of the day was men's physique. I think there was 16 of us on stage. It was loads. Couldn't even fit us all on stage. And obviously I got a third call out. And I said to you after, didn't I? I said, now this is done. I said, I want 18 months, 24 months off. I'm never, ever, I don't want to be third call out ever again because I hated it. You know what I mean? I'm so competitive. I'm maybe not going to win, but I want to be up there with the top 3, 4, 5 boys, It's a bit disheartening when you're at the back and It
is, but then I think you need that as well. Because if you go in...
definitely need something like that, though.
Yeah. If you go in and you just win everything...
It gives you drive. It gives you drive to get better.
If you come away and you don't do as well, or if you don't place, you're not going to place at every single show. You're just not going to place at every single show. You're not going to win every single show. Every single show is not going to go exactly how you want it to. So I think it's kind of neat. I think I'm glad we didn't do, although we went in thinking we weren't going to place at all because it was the finals. So I think to come away and
you got 4th. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just saying, but it's because of the first two that went so well.
Yeah.
I think because the finals, although we didn't have expectations, but because they didn't go as well.
Yeah.
I think it's just motivated us even more. We know where we've got to improve, and I just think we don't want to step on stage again unless we've made significant improvements. But I think it's important to have that and to have that experience. To have both experiences.
Oh yeah, hugely.
beneficial to have the both experiences.
Hugely, it gives you that perspective, because like you've ended your season with a clear something to chase. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. Yeah, you can look at these things online, you can look at videos, you can look at all this, but actually, if you want to compete and you actually really don't want to do well, which both of you two do, you want to see how far you can go in this endeavor. They're really getting on stage. There's no other way to realize what a finals level is about until you've actually stood on stage with these people, right?
Yeah.
And either two things will happen, right? Either you'll know that you don't want to do it because you'll walk away and you'll think to yourself, oh, I can never be at that level, right? Or you walk away and think, man, I can't wait to be at that level. And that's what drives you, which is what it's done to both of you, which is exactly what it should do. Because, like I say, the classes that you're both competing in, you have actually really great structures for, right? You have 100% good potential to take it as far as you want. And now it just comes down to you really putting that effort in. And that's what I want to talk about next, is that realistically, coming out of these competitions, you've had a lot to process together as a couple, right? You've gone through this. You've gone well beyond your expectations. It's put you in a position now where you're not just thinking about competing. You guys know that you can actually do well in competing and you can actually take this very, very far. So how has that left you? Like your vision now of, let's say the next year ahead, where are you both with that?
We've already said that we want to compete again.
Yeah.
For us, Matt it's a lot clearer, because obviously you want to take a good 18 months off to build, but which is fine, because obviously next year we've got such a busy year with getting married, with moving, so it's timing for me, because I would love to step on stage again next year, but it's just a case of when. And then also giving myself enough time to make those improvements, because I don't want to step on stage again with pretty much the same physique as what I did last time. You want to make significant improvements. So we know we want to compete again. It's just a case of when.
Absolutely.
I think with Cerys, we know a show that potentially we could do. But we're just going to wait and see what she looks like in January first.
That's the best thing to
do. You'll know as well.
That's it. And we've got the strategy in place. And I actually agree with both the approaches that we're using. For Matt, I think we need a good long off season. I think that would do very well, because I know what you've got in mind, Matt, and look what you want to bring. And people don't realize that the physique guys are getting sizable.
So big now.
Yeah, they're really a lot bigger than people realize. It's really emphasized as well. It's really weird to explain. It's like, when you look at some of the bigger guys, like the big bodybuilders and that, even though they're huge, in a way it's weird because a lot of them do carry the wider waist and everything. It doesn't look as freaky as a physique guy in some ways, because when you've got that small waist, you've got these bursting muscles, and everything is just kind of like it's centered from this tiny waist, and then everything is bigger than what it is. So the physique guys now really bring in a high level of physique. It's not just a case of, like years and years ago, it's kind of like you just had abs, you could do physique, right? Now it's like you've actually got to bring a really fucking killer physique. So we've got a lot to work on, and I'm really excited about it, because people don't realize it's not just about adding size. When we came in this year, one thing that really done you well, Matt, is actually how hard your muscles looked, right? The actual maturity of them. Now, when you get a year, let's say a good year of off season, eating like heavy, training hard, bringing those numbers in the gym up, spending the time there, when we peel you down again, the muscle's going to look so much harder as well. And it's just your whole look. I think of you now, honestly. And I think, some of the shots that you sent me where you were actually in the gym and you were doing the side shot, right? And how conditioned you look like. Remember those last couple of weeks you send me routinely? I think of that was a quality 8 to 10 pounds more muscle. We're looking at a whole different physique. But the thing with Cerys is, personally, I think this, and I know you guys too as well, that Cerys, that you can make the improvements that you need to make. You could be competitive next year. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? You could be competitive next year at the level that you won. So it's really a case of exactly like you said, judge it and see where we are in the turn of the new year. The thing that excites me the most is that, again, what people don't realize is I haven't had the opportunity, and neither have you had the opportunity, for us to actually do a proper off season, for us to sit down and say, this is what we're going to build. We've got a gym to go to. This is how we're going to execute it. Because I can't have an effective off season with a person, because how can you push calories if people are training like at home with dumbbells?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're in the gym, now we can push it. And now also the drive that you've got now is very different to any drive that you ever had before, because it's got context, it's got history.
Mm.
You know, here I've done my competitions, this is what I look like, this is who I competed against, this is where I want to get to. It's very different. It's a very different energy
And
now.
our goals have completely changed, because before it was like, right, we're getting in shape for a show.
Yeah.
And now I'm not getting in shape for a show. I'm trying to get in shape to go on to a GBO Pro show. So you know what I mean? It's a complete different level now. Like, so it's like
the bar's even higher.
Yeah, the bars aren't higher, and my mindset's completely changed. Like,
it's incredible. It's incredible, and it's amazing what can be done within like the period of a year. You know, and it's lending itself so much well to you two, that I know that you two are like really passionate about getting into your own coaching. You already are coaching people, right? Yeah. And it's just beautiful that the way that these experiences happen. And that's why I say to people that, you know, what started out as a journey, one simple 15-week bloody plan, right, has led to this. And now where I have no doubts at all that we'll probably do another podcast, say, you know, further on down the line. And at that point, your coaching business will be building up, right? You'll be helping other people get into great shape, and you two will be going on to basically create pro careers. You know, that's what can happen when you go into a journey and you give it everything you've got.
Yeah.
I think it's, for us as well, we genuinely love it. So even though we had really tough times in prep, but we still really loved the process. You know, we love training, you know, we just love every aspect of it. And then obviously that's why we're going into it ourselves, because we want to do that for other people. We just, you know, this is our passion. And I think that's why we have been so motivated, and we've stuck to it, and we've got through it, because we do genuinely, we've loved the whole process, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. And you've always said this to me, Afser. You said it's the best feeling ever when people like give you a weekly message saying like how good they're feeling about themselves, or how they're loving training now. And now recently I've been having those messages off my clients, and it is when you wake up on a Saturday and you have a message saying, I've really enjoyed my training this week. I've never enjoyed training so much. And it is a really nice feeling. And just to know that you're helping someone as well, you know?
It's the biggest buzz. I can tell you right now, there's no greater wealth in life than helping other people. When you help other people achieve a goal, especially when they've come to you, and you know, as that coaching builds, you have people come to you, and they've come to you because they genuinely feel like that's it, that you're the last buck. They can't get anywhere. And it's horrible to see a person who's tried and just fallen short every time, right? And then you can help them over that barrier, and you just awaken them. It's like it's just such a beautiful process, such a giving process. That's why I say the most powerful commodity that you can ever have is positivity, because it just spreads. Like I've worked with you, right? And you've gone and done something positive, and now that positivity has led into you building something even bigger and positive. How do you actually know that in 12, 16, 18, 20 months time, you're not going to be having your own podcast thing with client competitors of your own? This is the beauty of what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. So I really, 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 really enjoyed talking to you guys in the journey and the adventure. I want to keep people updated with the way that we go. Is there anything that you'd like to say in closing, or any advice, any tips, anything like that?
No, not really. I think if you really want to do a show, you've got to be, like we've already discussed, but you've got to be fully committed.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand that mentally it is going to challenge you so to the point where you think you can't do it anymore. You know, and if you're not, then you're probably not training hard enough, or you're not prepping hard enough. You're not lean enough, or you're not conditioned enough. So,
100% agree with that. Yeah.
So,
I just think it's just trying to prepare yourself as much as possible, because you can never fully prepare yourself until you go through it. But you know, reaching out to people who have done it before, following people on Instagram, listening to I listen to so many different podcasts, and not just podcasts, you know, about bikini athletes, you know, bodybuilders, classic bodybuilders, men's physique bodybuilders, because it's about the whole, you know, the whole industry, that, you know, the whole prepping, you know, don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like it's the whole process, you know, from different perspectives as well. I think that was really helpful for me. And yeah, I just think you've got to be prepared to give it 110%. It is, you know, especially in the latter part of a prep, it's 24/7. It consumes your life, and I think you've got to prepare yourself to give it 110%.
But
it's worth it.
Yeah, I was going to say, but once you're on stage, it's 100% worth it.
And you know, it's surrounding yourself with positive people. You know,
that's a massive thing.
Any negative people, cut them out.
Well, yeah,
that's what, like, I forgot to say this, but like towards the end of prep, it was just us three.
Yeah,
I didn't family. Most of my family didn't get pushed out, but it was just they don't understand. They're not bodybuilders, or so it was just mainly us three. Like, so, and I think the closer the circle, the better.
But you've got to. I think you've got to have a good support network around you.
No, 1,000,000%, and it is what we've really done here is created a lot of memories. Like I say, it's not just a plan, not just a 15-week plan that you got on. We really had an adventure here, and I'll definitely always remember this year for what we've done here. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, we
really, really do.
We will as well. It's been
and
such
to
a
like
crazy
share that
year.
with you, to have an insight into that, and both as well. Like you as a couple just amaze me. It's an incredible couple because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to navigate a prep, and there are loads of times when, like you said, man, when you pull those carbs out and there's no fat on your body, you get very snappy, especially when someone's eating a pizza. But, you know, you made it through, and here you are, and you've got an amazing year to look forward to next year. You've got your marriage next year, right? Yeah. You know, you've got your off season. Potentially, you can.
Which I'm loving already.
Yeah,
loving off season.
It's good. This off season, I'm so excited to get into this off season.
And me.
You know, because like I say, it's a total different to anything you would have ever done before. Now you have plenty of food, really good training, not just seeing your body change, but knowing why you're changing it and what you're looking to do. It's very different. Like you two will look at yourselves now as you're growing, and it won't just be a case of like, oh, I'm getting bigger or I'm improving. It'll be a case of, do you know what? I can see if I tighten this up and tighten up on stage already, I'm going to have a better look. Do you know what I mean? You look at yourself very differently. So it's just a great thing. And well, I'll leave you guys to it. It's been really, really good. And
just before we go, I just want to say one thing, and that's a massive thank you to you.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't have done it without you. So
I really appreciate it. I really do. I love doing it. I love doing it when somebody's as passionate as you two have both been. It's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. It really is. Waking up every morning and I live on the cusp of. I live vicariously through it. Do you know what I mean? People don't realize that. People don't realize that. I competed when I was like 19, 20, 21, 22 in the BNBF. I didn't have any guidance. My family didn't even want me to do it. Right? No one knows anything about it. Right? And I just think when I was able to go through your journey, and it was kind of like I had an opportunity, you know, to do things the right way for a first show. Right?
Yeah.
And seeing you go out and do that, and seeing you achieve what you've done, it brought me to life. That's what I love it. You guys know this, that I'm not exaggerating when we're just talking every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every day. Like, you know, touching, and it does. You're absolutely right, Cerys. When you're in it, you feel don't it feel like it's never ending?
Yeah,
and then
it did.
It's over.
And then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, we went into every single show so confident and, you know, and happy because you literally left no stone unturned. And you know, as much as we gave the prep 110%, that's because we had that from you. You know, daily check-ins from however many weeks out, I think, you know, that helped us massively. And we just knew we were just so, you know, obviously we were just in your hands, and, you know, whatever you said, you know, that's what we would do. That's, you know, and I just don't think we, you know,
trust the process.
Yeah.
Well, I loved it. I loved every part of it. Well, guys, I'll let you go. And look forward to checking.
Yeah. Great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.